All right, so we're moving on to part two. What rights did women seek in the 19th century? So, our last form was like what obstacles, what problems did they face? This is trying to improve upon that. So, our first source describes the Lowell Mill. So, this is in Massachusetts. These are girls that worked in textile mills on strike in 1836. So, it's an excerpt written about girls at a mill going on strike. So, Boston built a major textile manufacturing center in Lowell, Massachusetts in the 19th century. The first factories recruited women from rural New England. These young women, far from home, lived in rows of boarding houses near the growing number of mills. So, this was the first time that young women got away from home, and it was kind of like going to college. They had lived in row houses, kind of like dorms, but instead of getting an education, they're working. Okay, so these mills grow. More mills led to overproduction. So we're producing too many textiles, which led to a drop in prices and profits. Okay, so there's too much. You can't charge enough for them. The price of the textiles goes down. You make less money. Mill owners, so they're losing money, they're trying to find a way to make up money. Reduced wages, so you're going to get paid less, and sped up the pace of work. So these girls are getting paid less for working faster. The young female workers organized to protest these wage cuts in 1834 and 1836. Harriet Hanson Robinson was one of those factory workers. She began work in Lowell at the age of 10. In 1898, she published Loom and Spindle, a memoir of her Lowell experiences where she recounted the strike of 1836. So, your question, why did female workers in the Lowell factories decide to strike, which means refuse to work, stop working, stop getting paid in order to prove a point in 1836? So, what was so wrong that they decided to give up getting paid altogether in order to send a message? What problems did they face from the mill owners that they wanted improved? So, reduced went down their wages, so the amount of money they earned went down, but the pace of their work had to speed up. Sounds like a problem. Okay. One of the first strikes that ever took place in this country was in Lowell in 1836. When it was announced that wages were to be cut down, the workers decided to strike. The mills were shut down, and the girls went in an orderly line from their different factories to the Grove on Chapel Hill and listened to passionate speeches from early labor reformers. So these are people working to improve working conditions. One of the girls declared that it was their duty to resist all attempts at cutting the wages. So these girls are going to fight back. They're going to say, "You're going to pay me the same amount of money that you used to pay me." This was the first time a woman had spoken in public in Lowell, and the event shocked her audience. So she's the first girl to speak in public, a woman in public, about her duty to resist all attempts at cutting down the wages. So, what was the shocking part? Cutting down the wages was not their only grievance, nor the only cause of the strike. So, the fact that they're getting paid less is one of their problems, but there's more. Before the wage cuts, the factories had paid 25 cents a week towards the food for each worker. And now it was their demand to have the girls pay the sum. So not only is their paycheck going to show less, but it's also an extra 25 cents that they used to get paid that they're not going to get paid anymore. This would make a difference of at least $1 a week. It was estimated that as many as 1,500 girls turned out and walked in lines through the streets. They had neither flags nor music, but sang songs, a favorite one being a parody on "I Won't Be a Nun." So, how many girls protested at these textile mills? And this is a song that they were singing, and I will do you a favor and not sing. Oh, isn't it a pity such a pretty girl as I should be sent to the factory to pine away and die? Oh, I cannot be a slave. I will not be a slave. For I'm so fond of liberty that I cannot be a slave. So, what are they saying? Like, slaves, remember, work for no pay. So, maybe they're trying to draw a connection between the fact that their wages are being cut, but they're not going to stand for it. My memory of this very first strike is vivid. I had paid very close attention to what was said, and naturally, I took sides with the strikers. When the day came to strike, those in the upper room started first, and so many of them left that our mill was at once shut down. So remember, they're going on strike. They're saying, we refuse to work until you agree to our demands. And it works only when you get enough people to go on strike to kind of make a difference. So if you don't get a whole bunch of people, then it's not effective. When the girls in my room hesitated, I became impatient and left with childish bravery. So she's not patient. She's leaving. She's brave, probably because she's 10 years old and, full of enthusiasm, right? I don't care what you do. I am going on strike, whether anyone else does or not. When I marched out, I was followed by the others. As I looked back at that long line that followed me, I was more proud than I have ever been, and more proud than I shall ever be again until women have the right of suffrage. Suffrage is the right to vote. So what made her so proud? Okay. What did she do that made everybody else see her as a leader? Okay, unfortunately, the authorities did not accept our demands. So the mill owners are saying, I don't think so. The majority returned to their work, and the corporation went on cutting down the wages. So the women had to go back to work. They had to make some money, even if it wasn't as much as they made before. And after a time, as the wages became more and more reduced, men and girls left and went to their homes. So they went back home. So your question is, did these protests, walkouts, and strikes work? Explain your answer in complete sentences using text evidence. So you're going to start by restating, right, for your claim. The protests, walkouts, and strikes either worked or did not work. And then why? What's your evidence? Text states, maybe something up for here that did they get more wages or did the people just have to go back to work? So tell me what the text states, and then you're going to explain. This shows that it worked because, or it didn't work because. So 3 sentences. Pick a team, evidence from the text, and explain. If you need help, let me know. Today, millions of women in unions who teach our kids, fight our fires, build our homes, and nurse us back to health owe a debt to the Lowell Mill girls. So debt, remember, is something you owe someone. And usually it's money, but in this case, it is money because it's our wages, but different. To the Lowell Mill girls, right? So these are the first girls that said, we have to stick together and ask to be treated in the right way, to get the wages that we earn, that we deserve. They taught America a powerful lesson about ordinary women doing extraordinary things, right? So this author, she was a mill girl working for a little bit of money as a 10-year-old girl. Nothing extraordinary about her, ordinary woman, but she did something extraordinary. Okay, so now we're moving on to Elizabeth Cady Stanton at the Seneca Falls Convention. Also, if you have any time and museums ever open. Seneca Falls is about an hour and a bit away, and there's a women's rights museum, and it's a really cool town to visit and check things out. Hi. Okay. What actions did women take to obtain rights at the Seneca Falls Convention? So that's our question. And this is written, this is an address, so a speech given by Elizabeth Cady Stanton. What would we gain by voting? Voting is suffrage. Women want suffrage, the right to vote. Everything, because men know the advantages of voting, for they all seem very tenacious about the right. Right? They're getting a little upset that women are asking for the right to vote. They're pretty serious about women not having that right. Think if we had a voice in this government, voting would change our situation. Women's rights would no longer be a dream. It would become a reality. So according to this excerpt, what's the only thing that's going to change women's situation in 1848? Okay. And then Elizabeth Cady Stanton continues, women are never asked what truly makes us happy. Men like us to believe our gender is so much more delicate than his and needs his care and protection. Care and protection, such as the wolf gives the lamb. Does the wolf protect the lamb, or does the wolf eat the lamb? Such as the eagle, the hare. So does the eagle protect the rabbit, or does it eat it? What's that saying about the way that women were treated by men at this time period? What two comparisons does Stanton use to compare the fact that women needed his care and protection? Okay. He takes from us all those rights which are dearer to him than life itself. The most disappointing thing is that many women are satisfied with the way things are. When the subject of voting is introduced among our young ladies who claim to be intelligent and educated, it is met with disgust and ridicule. So these women were made fun of for trying to act like a man and vote and make decisions. Your question, why is Stanton so disappointed when the subject of voting is introduced among our young ladies who claim to be intelligent and educated? How do most women respond in 1848? But if we open our eyes to the laws under which we live, we will no longer declare ourselves satisfied with the way things are. Right? So if we really take a minute and look around, maybe we won't be so content, so satisfied. So, last writing. What would you have done to assist with women's rights in the 1840s? So what could be done? You're probably not making a YouTube video. Well, what could you do? So I would have something. Oh, like let's not even fill that out because we're just doing our claim. So we're going to do a general statement. I would have assisted with women's rights in the 1840s. Or you could say you wouldn't. That's fine too. I would explain what you would have done. This would help by, I don't know. So would you have a meeting? Would you make those broadside posters? Would you give speeches? Would you write letters? Would you boycott? Would you have strikes? I don't know. Let me know. I'm curious to read your answers. Again, find Man Hangouts if you need help.